Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Corey Avlik, and today I'll be doing something a little different from my typical music videos or vlogs. I decided it's finally time to sit down with you guys and talk about my coming out experience. This is something I've been wanting to do for years now. I've been quite apprehensive about it for a few reasons, which we'll kind of touch on that later. But with recent events in our political climate, unfortunately, I have been compelled now more than ever to sit down and talk about it. It's raised my awareness of where we kind of are at as a society and reminding me of how important it is. I just hope that this could possibly help anyone out there who is struggling with this and let them know that they're most certainly not alone. I remember that feeling. I grew up a Jehovah's Witness. Quick rundown for those of you who aren't aware in this group. Some rules are you are expected to spend and track hours per month devoting your time to knocking on doors to preach and hand out their publications. You cannot celebrate holidays or birthdays. You cannot be gay. You obviously can't sleep with someone outside of marriage. You can't do drugs. I mean, those are some general obvious things. Some of them are also not. That's just a rundown to state the facts. If you break a rule and are baptized, then you would be disfellowshipped. It's just a term they use for shunning. If you're caught speaking to someone who is disfellowshipped, then you would also be shunned and not allowed to speak even to your family. Growing up in this group, college is also frowned upon because there you might learn critical thinking skills where you might think for yourself and potentially disagree with some of the rules or ideas of the religion. Also, unless you're preaching to someone of the world or not a Jehovah's Witness, you can't be friends. I could dive deeper into that subject, and if you want, let me know, because I could make a video about it at a later time, but for now, that's just a quick rundown so that I can tell you guys my coming out experience in this group. As a teenager, realizing this unexplainable attraction towards men was devastating for me. That attraction had been there, but when I realized the term gay was attached to it, yes, I was this sheltered, I didn't even know. I was so scared. Despite the way my parents cared for me, I knew that if I came out at 15, right after baptism, the organization would not only expect them to shun me, but I'd heard so many horror stories of parents disowning their children for that I was mortified. So I just continued to keep my head down. I kept knocking on doors. To preach, I rehearsed a sales pitch I didn't always agree with, attend their meetings and study publications, even pioneer, which is a term they use to devote a lot of hours towards preaching per month, just to blend in and do everything that was expected of me. I felt like an actor in my own life. This caused me to become so bitter about everything as I suppressed myself and lived this way for years. What kept me going was knowing that this act kept me safe and that my day of freedom was waiting for me. Before I say this, know that everyone's experience is different, but I had a couple of family members that I had such a strong gut feeling about trusting that I could trust, and I was able to come out to them during this time period at some point as a teenager, and they never leaked the truth. It's just very difficult, of course, living such a life and not being able to talk to a single soul or tell anyone about anything. But if you're in the situation, be very careful about who you share your truth with or who you trust. I was very lucky in a way because I've heard of people being outed and things going very differently for those people, so just be careful. Part of me wanted to come out as soon as I turned 18 and could escape, but I knew if I did, I would run the risk of being able to see or even speak to my sister, who was 14 at the time, for another 4 years until she would be 18 and could make the decision for herself to communicate with whoever she wanted to. Because the thing is, if I come out, I would be disfellowshipped at this time. Then my parents would be obligated to not speak to me and would keep me and my sister apart. So I did some research to find a way that I could gradually stop knocking on doors and participating in their meetings and live my true life without being disfellowshipped or shunned. So I didn't lose my sister or family in the process. I heard of a rules book that the elders use, which the elders would be the people that make the decision to shun you or disfellowship you. This book was used as guidelines or criteria that everyone else is forbade from reading, called Shepherd the Flock. I snuck, got my hands on this book. I know some of the rules change frequently, so I can't speak on behalf of those today, but at the time, 7 years ago, you would be considered inactive if you had stopped turning in preaching time for 6 months minimum, which would mean that you are no longer a candidate for disfellowshipping unless you are actively caught associating with the congregation. So I continued to go to meetings, even preaching here and there when I turned 18, even posting selfies just to make it look like I was totally into it, while the entire time I was not turning in those hour slips that would be proving your preaching hours. The elders kept trying to meet with me at my local congregation. They kept trying to drag me to the back when I would come to like half a meeting here and there. They were like, we're so concerned that you're not turning in hours and Jehovah God is upset with you, and I would be like, I'm so sorry, like I've just been forgetful, at least you've seen me preaching and blah blah blah. You know what, I'll take home slips and try to calculate my hours and I'll bring it back to you, always making up something. Eventually this got so annoying I had to transfer my file over to another congregation. Yes, they have a file on everyone. I asked the elders to transfer my file over to another congregation who pretend that I was moving just because this got so annoying. Eventually this worked. About over a year later, I was officially considered inactive, jumping through hoops just to be able to keep my family. I kept up the act here or there and used work as an excuse not to go most of the time. Eventually it stopped. I believe my sister was about 17 when I decided to move a few states away for college. My ex-boyfriend had a job offer in this area. By this time my family kind of knew I wasn't going to the Jehovah's Witness meetings. I just think they didn't bother me about it by this point because they knew I was inactive and not disfellowshipped. During this move I gradually came out to each of my family members one at a time, calling them, and I asked them to kind of keep things to themselves so that I could go around and tell everyone. I was saying I needed to finally be honest about something, that the roommate I moved with was more than a roommate, that I was in love with him and we were together. And that despite all of the things that we were taught by Jehovah's Witnesses, I believe that love is still love and that love does not have to be portrayed as something so negative. I had never been so happy in my life to live my truth. It was so emotional for me and for them. I think they already suspected I was gay, so it wasn't a total surprise. But what shocked me the most, I think, was that they all kind of said something along the lines of, like, you're my son and I love you, or you're my grandson, I'll always love you, or you're my nephew and I still love you. I think that despite my elaborate plan that I was like so in my head about for years to keep my family, they may have looked past the division that Jehovah's Witnesses try to cause between family. They might have been there for me the whole time. You never know. I knew that my family loved me, but I didn't know how devoted they were to this group, that they would completely shut everything out. I could be at risk here. The religion could see this one day and maybe I could be disfellowshipped. But sharing this, I think, is more important because it can help many more out there who don't realize they're heard, that this is still happening, this still goes on, this is still a problem. All in all, if you're raised a Jehovah's Witness watching this, trying to look for a way out, a way to come out, my best advice would be to be careful. Don't trust easily, and if you don't feel safe, you may feel more comfortable creating a plan like I did. Bottom line is you're not alone. There's a community out here that loves you and accepts you no matter what. I'm lucky in a way, but if I had to do it all over again, I would probably make the same decisions. I just hope that this video helps any of you out there who could be struggling with yourself or struggling with what to do next if you are in a similar situation. I've never been so happy or felt so free. The horror stories Jehovah's Witnesses tell you as you're growing up about how leaving is equivalent to throwing your life away and you're gonna end up in jail and all these terrible things are gonna happen to you, it's simply not true. You don't have to be a Jehovah's Witness to be a good person. There's such a fault there. I'm living proof that narrative is not true. It's delusional. I'm a successful young adult, educated, with a degree, a career that I love, surrounded by people that I love, living a life that I love. Stay strong. There's more out there than what they tell you. I know I normally don't do vlogs like this, but if you like these types of videos, let me know. Perhaps I could make more. And if you haven't already, don't forget to leave a like, comments, don't forget to subscribe, all of that good stuff you already know. And thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. Bye.